James Lynch here again for the MMA Industry Podcast, doing another video here for a question that I also get asked all the time, and that is, how do you apply for UFC media credentials? And before I get to that, I will cover that in this video. I wanted to talk about just covering events in general. If you're just starting out, I highly recommend going to check out some local events. Easiest thing to do is go on Tapology and look under Fight Center. We're recording this on March 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, March 3rd. So if you look here, there's a list of all the shows that are coming up. So look and see if there's an event that's relatively close to where you are. Like, look at this Monster Energy Bellator MMA fight series. Like, they don't even televise that card, so that would be great to get some content there. There's just lots of stuff that you can do, and when you click on it, usually they're pretty good. Look at this: Caged Warrior Championship 17. Promotion In Yo Face Fight Productions, which is kind of an interesting name. But yeah, if you go and you look on there, there should be some contact info, or at least where you can find. You should be able to find some sort of information as to what event this is. The easiest way to apply for credentials for a local promotion is to just look up their website if they have one. Look up their Facebook. Look up their Twitter. Just get a hold of someone over there and ask them, hey, what do I need to do to get media credentials to cover this event? Covering events is super important. It's one of the ways that I've been able to get a lot of my freelance gigs, and not only that, there's just so many benefits to going to local events. First off is networking. You meet a lot of people at these events. For local shows, probably not as much, but you do get that networking as far as, up and coming fighters and managers and people of that nature. There might be a fighter on the card that's a nobody, but he might be training with a UFC fighter. So there's always sort of a benefit to going to these local shows. The other one is that you're going to get exclusive content. I've been to local shows before where I was one of the few media people there, and I got, firsthand exclusive content. And guess what? People that are living in that area that want to check out the fighters, they're going to be going to your stuff because there's nobody else covering that event. So the benefits of it are just very good. So I highly recommend that. Just as an example, I covered TKO this past December. I took the 5-hour drive to Montreal, and I got a lot of really good interviews. In fact, I was one of, I think, 2 other people there out of the media group that was English speaking. So I got English interviews, and again, that was exclusive for that event. And I talked to some up and comers and some guys that I really believe you will see in the UFC one day. So there is a lot of benefits to going and covering local events. One of the best things you can do, though, I would recommend, is covering a Bellator event. Bellator is great in the sense that they'll pretty much approve anyone that's working for any sort of media site. They're not as strict as the UFC, and the access you get is just fantastic. The thing is that you're going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to have local prospects on the undercard, and then who knows, you might have sort of a bigger name on the bigger cards. I know last year, when I covered Bellator and NYC, just the access that was there was great. I got to talk to some big name fighters. It was really beneficial from that standpoint, and Bellator just does a really great job with the media. So for Bellator credentials, you're going to want to go to the site here, BZAPR, and as you can see here, if you want to apply for Primus and Chandler, go there, register now, and you just fill out all your information, and they'll get back to you, and you just basically have to fill it out as follows. And with all that said, here's what you need to do to apply for UFC credentials. First, before you do anything, make sure you're going under an outlet that's going to get approved by the UFC. That's a huge thing. The UFC is very strict about who they let through, and so that's something you want to check out. And if you're working for a big website like an MMA Fighting or MMA Junkie, you're probably not watching this video, let's be honest, but if you're not, if you're someone who's been doing this for a while and you want to know how to apply to a UFC event, there's a couple shortcuts I'd recommend. The first one is that the UFC really likes to approve outlets that are established. So even if you apply like under a radio station or under a local newspaper, or I've even seen under like a student newspaper, sometimes you can get UFC credentials that way. There are ways of doing it. I was in UFC 210 last year in Buffalo, and I saw a guy who's a university student who was there for the university getting to cover a UFC event. The other option I'd recommend is looking at a website like MMA Latest. They're usually pretty good. I'm sure if you go and pitch them some of your content, and again, that's why I brought up earlier, it's important to get some events under your belt as far as content, so that way when you do go to a site and you want to pitch them and say, hey, look, I'll cover this event for free, I just want to go there and be able to cover the event, you actually have some stuff to show. So that's really important too. So if you go to an MMA Latest, you want to show them your content, you pitch it to them, just say, hey, look, I'll do this for free. Look at it as an investment. A lot of people watching this saying, oh, well, what's the point if you're not going to get paid? It's an investment. Like I said, I've made so many contacts just going to events and networking. Pretty much all the freelance gigs I've ever got have been through networking at events. So it's definitely something to consider for sure. If an MMA Latest doesn't work out, let's say they don't have any room, go and apply, to an international outlet. Let's say they have a show in North America and they're not going to send, an international outlet there. So an outlet like Severe MMA, for example, they do all their shows internationally. internationally, but what about North America? They're not going to make it to every big event. Let's say you're in Glendale, Arizona, and they have a fight night coming up, that Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier card. They might not send anyone out there, so you could get in touch with someone at Severe and say, hey, look, I've got some content. Would you be willing to let me use you guys as an outlet and go and cover the event? And really the benefit is you're going to get a lot of good content if you go to a UFC event, and it's stuff you can use later on when you're applying for jobs or applying for other things. It's really a good starting ground to sort of get to that next level. For UFC credentials, you're going to want to go to press.ufc.com, and if you don't have an account, you're going to want to sign up right here and fill out all the information. You can actually apply for an event and then have an account created for you after, but this is the easiest way. Follow it. Make sure it's all the right information. Don't go under another outlet if you say you're going for a specific outlet. Like if I say I'm going for MMA Junkie and I'm going under MMA Fighting, that's not going to look good. Just be honest with them. Also talk, if you have a managing editor, make sure you put their name on there and their contact information, and you just fill it out. You got to put a photo here, I think, if you want to. So this is basically what you do as far as filling out the application. And like I said, you should find out a confirmation probably about a week before fight time. And before I wrap up this video, I want to talk just quickly about professionalism at events, because this is one key thing when you're going to cover events. First off, do some work. I see people going to events and just hanging out and watching the fights. Make sure you're actually doing something. I mean, the bare minimum, if you're going to an event, tweet out the results, especially a local card, because oftentimes you're not going to get play-by-play or results for local cards the night of when it's happening. So that can be valuable information. Even for someone like myself who, is looking up prospects, it's good to know results in real time. So do that. If you want to do play-by-play for a website, that's great. If you want to do interviews, do that too. Talk to the promoter ahead of time. Figure out where the fighters are going to be after they win their fight and interview them. Don't interview a losing fighter unless you have to, but don't do that. That's always a bad idea. Dress up. I mean, this is such an easy thing. Just go and look professional. You want to stand out from people in the crowd. I see media members sometimes at local events wearing jeans and t-shirt. Don't do that. Golf shirt, jeans, dress pants. If you want to go all out and wear a suit, I think that's cool too. I really like to dress up at events just because, again, it shows that professionalism. It shows that you're really taking this seriously, and it's not like you're just strolling into this on a Saturday. The other thing at events, talk to people. Talk to other media members if you happen to see them there. Introduce yourself. It's a good way to make contacts. And plus, after a long night, it's always great to have some people to go out and have a couple beers with. So I highly recommend doing that as well. Also, talk to the fighters, talk to managers while you're there. Build contacts, build a network. It's an easy way to do that when you're going to events, and I can't emphasize this enough. Don't take pictures with fighters. That should be a common sense one. You don't want to show bias. You want to be as objective as possible. Don't do that. Don't take a picture with a fighter. Don't do the fist pose. Don't do those types of things. Just avoid that at all costs. Just do the interview. Try not to look biased and get some good content there. And the last one is don't drink. This should be an obvious one, but do not drink any alcohol at any events. If you're drinking, it's super unprofessional, and it's going to probably get your credentials revoked, when you're at an event. And kind of on that same note, don't film anything unless you've cleared it prior with the promoter. They're really strict about that, especially with the UFC and Bellator. Don't film anything if you're cage side. They're really strict about that, so definitely don't do that. Local events are a little bit different, but again, just ask the promoter ahead of time. So that's pretty much it as far as applying for UFC media credentials, as well as how you apply for other events. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys learned something here today. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel here on the link below in the description, and follow me on Twitter at Lynch on Sports. And if you guys like this stuff, let me know. I'm going to be doing more of this stuff if there's a demand for it. I just want to be informative and help people out, and give them advice and give them, answers to questions that they may have that I tend to get on a regular basis. So thanks for watching.